Now, our next guest books have been international bestsellers and been translated into 30 languages.
Her books are about angels who she claims she can see and talk to on a regular basis. Lorna Byrne, you're very welcome back to the show.
Welcome to us, Lorna.
Now, for people who wouldn't be familiar with your story, you would have seen angels when you were very young.
Yes, I always tell everybody from the moment I opened my eyes, I've seen angels. Now, I didn't know they were angels. You have to remember, because I was only an infant. It was just many, many years later that, and I know I've told the story before, when my little brother's hand touched mine or went into mine and it all sparkled. And that was the time the angel said to me that my little brother was a soul, that he had died before I was born, and that they were angels, but I was to keep it a secret. And I kept it a secret all my life till I wrote the first book, I think in 2008, I think came out.
When you went on in life and you met the man you were going to marry, Joe, did you tell him?
No, not at first, no. I was actually very scared to tell him, because I thought that would be it. He'd
run away.
He'd be gone. Exactly. Yeah. I was afraid of that, and I always remember the day I did say it to him, and he just turned and looked at me and just said, you know, only priests and nuns, you know, see things like that, not ordinary people like you and me, you know. Yeah. And he never said another word. He just gave me a peck on the cheek, and I ran into the house, and I thought I wasn't going to see him again, but I did.
But you did.
Yeah.
Joe was alive. I know he had a lot of illness, and as a result of that, you and your 4 children, you know, you suffered a lot in the sense of poverty. We're talking about that a lot actually in the last few days on the show, and children and poverty and all that as a result of that. But you knew Joe wasn't going to live.
Yeah, and that was really the hardest thing, like knowing that. I always say to God and the angels, I wish they hadn't told me. You know, I can't see a reason for knowing.
It was a burden on you.
It was, but, you know, I'm glad we had the years we did have together, and that my children had those years, because my youngest daughter was only 4 when her dad died, and she missed him terribly.
Yeah.
Like,
when you were told this, and you must have been saying, hang on, why did you tell me? But also at the same time, you knew it was coming, and you couldn't tell him. And when people think of God and angels, hang on a second here now, you're talking to me, God, surely you can do something for me.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did, you know. But if I had gone and said to Joe, you know, you're going to die, you know, at such and such an age, or, you know, you're going to go through a lot of pain, you're going to have a lot of strokes, heart attacks, all that kind of thing, I don't think he would have lived his life as much as he did. And I don't think you can turn around and say that to someone, because myself personally, I believe you're stopping them from living life.
Angels have become kind of a thing over the last, say, 5 or 6 years. You know, even people that aren't religious have little angel emblems, you know, maybe their birth, jewel of the birth in them and that type of thing. Do you think you have to be religious to believe in angels, or do you think you can separate angels from Catholicism?
I think you can separate it. Like, lots of people would say to me, Lorna, they would say, we believe in you and we believe in angels, and they would say, but I not quite sure whether I believe in God, but I would say to them, how can you believe in angels and not believe in God?
Okay.
You know,
so you
because you're
think
guardian angel.
Okay.
I think it's just another way that God is helping people to recognise that we're more than flesh and blood, that we are a spiritual being as well.
If there are people like you who can see angels, and you say you sat next to God, are there other people who would have, I suppose, seen the dark side?
I would say so, yes.
So you believe in heaven and hell, and what traditionally people have thought?
I seldom talk about hell. All as I can say to you is that God did introduce me to the other side, and I know it does exist. But I know we're inclined to, for some reason or other, listen to the other side than we do to our guardian angel or to the good side. You know, when we're to be loving and compassionate and understanding, like, I get into trouble for being that way, for talking about caring for others, reaching out and help, you know, about peace, all of those things. But if I talked about the other side, the bad side, the evil side, I'd be all over the
You'd
place.
make headlines.
I would make headlines.
Well, I suppose good news is not headline news. Just interesting, this is, I think, is it your 6th book, Angels at My Fingertips? And I was just reading through it here, and I came across a very interesting story that when you meet people, you bless them. People stand up in lines, almost like you're a saint, to be blessed by you. And this child who came to you was 14 years of age. And in your book, you say that you didn't know about, why he was there, his circumstance. His mother actually had cancer. But just as you went to meet him, the angels told you that this young boy was here for a reason. Tell us what happened after that.
And just as I went to bless him, he said, I don't want this blessing for me. I want it for my mother. He said, I want my mother to live. And I just said to him, okay, I will ask for that. But he had sent me a letter as well afterwards. And within that letter, he told me the story that if God didn't grant that, he would end up in an orphanage. And in his country, they were horrible places. And part of that story is the last time I met that young man, I don't know if it's in the book.
It is in the book, he was 16.
I met him with his mom. She recovered. And he gave me the beads he prayed on all of the time, the white beads. If I had known, I would have brought them with me.
But can I ask you, do you believe that you have the power to, through God, that you have the power to heal and grant miracles to people?
I never think of it that way.
But do you believe it's happened, that you've cured people and things like that? Because that's a big statement.
Yeah, it is. And one way I don't know how to answer it. But, I just say to people, this is one thing that I've been told to do, is to bless people.
Okay, you bless them.
And to ask for them, whatever it is. And that's all I can do.
You can do. I know that you were on this morning with Philip Schofield, and he, I suppose, pulled you on a few things and said, you know what, he was quite sceptical of what you say, the angels say to you and all that. Did you feel under pressure during that interview? Or?
No, I didn't, but seemingly the viewers did, and the newspapers did, and everything like that. But I would have loved to have talked with him for ages on the show. Like, we could have had a great chat.
Because it's so abstract, it's very, very hard to get a grip on either side. Whether you believe your story or whether you don't. It's very, very hard. And I think it's probably down to the individual whether they believe you or not. And it's up to them in one sense.
It is.
Well, they certainly love your books. This is the 6th book. Is that we have 5 copies of Lorna's latest book, Angels at My Fingertips, to give away on our Facebook page, translated into 30 languages. Lorna, thanks so much for coming in to us.
Happy Christmas.
Wish you a very
happy Christmas. And just remember, this is a very special time of the year. And one thing I would love to say is that a gift everyone could give their family and friends, whether you're in the right or the wrong, is say, I'm sorry, I love you.
Okay, thank you.
Lovely words.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.